Hey yo, what is up, guys? It's DPX here, back with another episode of the podcast. DPX talks for about an hour. It is April 4th, 2020, and April 5th, 2020. Here's the thing. I'm doing something a little different today. I usually don't talk about wrestling on my channel. I tweet about it on Twitter quite a bit. I talk about it on this podcast a little bit, but I've never done like an entire episode. I barely do an entire episode on one thing. There's only like two other times I did that, but especially not wrestling. But yeah, today I'll be recapping WrestleMania 36. But this is an interesting one because it's two nights. So this is actually over a lot sooner than I thought it was gonna be. So what I'm gonna do here is right now, as I speak, at the moment, it's um April 4th, 2020, and um I will also get the recap of night two in this as well. So, like, they'll be in one episode. This will probably go up on April 5th or April 6th, one of the two. So, you're probably listening to this. The day I'm recording this is not the day when I speak right now, and when you are listening to this, it's definitely not on the same day. All right. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be going down the card, talk about the build up, if this is even a WrestleMania match, and talk about the match, how good it is. I'm not gonna like review it or anything. I'm not like that much of a wrestling fan. I should be much more into it, but I'm a bit more casual right now. But it's fun. To say the least. But yeah, let's go. We had the pre-show that I barely watched, but I watched it today just because I felt like maybe they were gonna have some of the matches that I already knew about on the card, like on the pre-show, and those were matches I was like. Most of the matches were kind of interesting, so but no, they did a random match that was not even announced before this. Which, yeah, I get most pay per views that happens, but like on the biggest one, um, yeah. Wait, before I get into that, this is probably the strangest WrestleMania ever. I mean, yeah, it's in front of no crowd at all due to the circumstances at the moment. It's two nights. The build up to this has been very weird. Um, like some of these matches have not been built up that well at all, and some of them have been built up really well. But let's just go down the list right now. Start off with the pre-show match, and that is Cesaro and Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak recently, he's sort of been a bit of a jobber before Elimination Chamber, where he had a really good match with Daniel Bryan, and he turned babyface, and now he had a match with Cesaro, which didn't really serve much purpose. I don't really remember much of it. There's nothing that really stood out to me. So Cesaro won. It was weird. Michael Cole on commentary, like when the ref was on the 2 count, Michael Cole goes and Cesaro picks up the win. Like before he said three, it was like what the fuck, Michael. But that was honestly like the only thing I was able to pick up from that match. So yeah, that was that. Um, if this leads to anything, I mean, Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak have been feuding with the artist collective that is Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sami Zayn. Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn have a match later on, which I will talk about. But this match, I don't feel served much of a purpose for anything. I guess maybe it was just to get these two on the card. But at least, like, if it felt like half-assed, like it wasn't announced, and they also just announced another random one, Natalya versus Liv Morgan, which I think will be tomorrow night. Which I will also every WrestleMania match I'll be covering in this one video. It will almost be like it's not a. This will almost be like it's not filmed on separate days. All right. Um. So yeah, so that just happened. Cesaro versus Drew Gulak. Whatever. Um, Now the next match, we go on to the main show of night one. The Kabuki Warriors defend, or the Kabuki Warriors being Asuka and Kairi Sane. Um, for those visual listeners, and if you don't know who any of these people are, the Kabuki Warriors are the ones on the left, right? I don't know. I don't know how the photo actually is. Let me. Um, yeah, they're the ones on the left. Versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, who are the ones on the right, of course. The Kabuki Warriors defend their women's tag team champions against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. This match was kind of like put together very boringly as well. I'm telling you, pretty much all these matches. When we get to one that was built up really well, I'll let you know. But this one was not one of them. But I guess kind of the story here was that all the way back at that shitty Hell in a Cell pay per view, um, Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, beat Alexa and Nikki for the women's tag team champions and won it off them. So now, you know, Alexa and Nikki they didn't really like eye on, they didn't like pay much attention after that on the titles until very like recently, where they called the Kabuki Warriors out on SmackDown, who and the Kabuki Warriors are on Raw. So then they started like fighting each other, and like it was a whole thing basically. And then Alexa and Asuka had a match on SmackDown. Alexa won, and then the match was made official pretty much. That was the whole build up. This was. I don't feel like this is much of a Mania match because it's first of all, it didn't really have the build of one, and this match was just on another like normal pay per view. And it was the build was nothing special. I feel like as a WrestleMania match, we're almost gonna have the Divas of Doom in it. That's what I heard in rumors. That would have made it a more interesting match, just to throw in like an extra team. But we got this match. It was fine. Nothing. I wasn't like bored of it. I was interested because this match I was kind of like indifferent about. I wasn't sure. Who actually will win this one? Because it was like not Nikki, Asuka and Kyrie were, I guess decent champions, but they rarely defended it. Like Asuka got like a singles push while she was one of the tag team champions, and then Kyrie was barely on TV. But they were a tag team, so they deserved the champions. But I think it was best that they put it on Alexa and Nikki because I think they will actually do stuff with the champions now. So it was a good match, but I mean it's an opener. Uh, I think it might have been the first women's match to open up WrestleMania, which is pretty cool. But definitely not as good as some of the other matches that were on here. The next up, well, what was next? Sorry if you hear clicking, by the way. It was King Corbin versus Elias. Now, this is not a Mania match. King Corbin, he had this huge feud with Roman Reigns, who is like, WWE thinks that he's the face of the company, but the fans turned on him, and then he left to uh, remit his leukemia, and then he came back, and then everyone loves him now. And then people the heat on him has cooled off. He was supposed to go against Goldberg for the Universal Champion. I'll get to that in a bit because that he pulled out, but I'll get to that in a bit. Where's I? Oh, King Corbin and Elias. Basically, though, King Corbin got like a pretty big push. He even went over Roman like a couple times. And then here's Elias, who's a great talker. He's great on the mic. I'm not gonna say he's bad in the ring, but his in-ring skills, I feel, are not on the same level as his mic skills. Like, I don't know. This was also like his first WrestleMania, I think, where he had a match, like an actual match. Like he appeared like last year and the year before, but he didn't have a match. So, basically, the whole build up here was King Corbin was in an interview asking, "What are you gonna do for WrestleMania?" He was in the middle talking, and Elias just starts playing. Basically, Elias's character, in case you guys don't know, is just a dude who wants to play his guitar. That's basically it. So he plays the guitar and interrupts Corbin's promo, and then Corbin like yells at Elias and walks away. And then next week, Corbin's in a match with Jeff Hardy, and then Elias costs Corbin the match. And then the next week, the host Rob Gronkowski. I didn't talk about that. There's like a little opening thing. There wasn't really much to it. It was just Rob Gronkowski and Mojo Rawley just screaming a lot. That was basically the whole opening before like the opening match, of course. But anyways, fuck. Now I basically um King Corbin tried to square up with Rob Gronkowski, and that didn't really do too well. Elias was there, and then uh, Gronk was like, "Hey, you two should have a match, Corbin and Elias," and that was pretty strange because it's not really a WrestleMania match. And then the next week on Raw, their match is announced. But the interesting thing is where like they're on the balcony. I guess it's not balcony. I don't know what else to call it. You who watched this, you know what I'm talking about. And it's almost like I saw memes of this being compared to like the scene in The Lion King with Mufasa and Scar. It's like uh, Corbin fucking kills Elias, pretty much. And so in kayfabe, it's like I don't know, is this match happening? But let's be real, nah, it is, and it did. It happened. So I just explained to you the build. Um, Now for the actual match. Again, it was nothing special. It was I can't really remember any like spots or anything. Like um, there was nothing really special that went on. It was a decent match. It wasn't really a match that should have been at WrestleMania. It didn't have the build. It didn't have the beef. I guess it didn't have any of that for WrestleMania. This could have been on SmackDown. Like this could have been on free TV, but it wasn't. So yeah, it was a very lame match. But what you gonna do? It wasn't offensive or anything. I wasn't offended by this match, but I was kind of annoyed and a little disappointed in the next one. Becky Lynch defends her Raw Women's Champion against Shayna Baszler. Now this one was interesting. This I feel belongs at WrestleMania. I before I heard many people talking about this, I don't want to be that guy, but I was like, well, at Survivor Series it was like Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, and then there's Becky versus Shayna versus Bayley there. Each of them were the women's champion for their respective brands. And then Shayna pinned Bayley and won, but then Becky attacked Shayna afterwards. Um, by the way, for you visual listeners, um, I've Becky's on the left and Shayna's on the right. Becky's the good guy, Shayna's the bad guy. So Becky is the one who attacked Shayna. So I kind of thought, what if they have a rematch at WrestleMania? And that's what happened. But what, um, so what happened here was Shayna was supposed to win the Women's Royal Rumble, but then didn't. And but then she was called up anyways and attacked Becky Lynch, and then won the Women's Elimination Chamber. And then that set up a match at WrestleMania. Both Becky and Shayna dropped good promos on each other. They were both. No, it was a Mania match. I want to say, at least the build up and the feud itself was that belonged here at Mania. Plus, I mean, you got Becky Lynch, who's huge. Probably, I say the biggest wrestler in the past in the company. She was like the biggest wrestler for like the past year or two. And it was a unique like biggest wrestler because it was the first time where the biggest wrestler was a woman. So that was cool. So you got that, and you got this like monster heel in Shayna Baszler coming, and Becky has already had like a long reign as champion. And it would be cool to see Shayna, end it. See Becky drop it to someone who deserves it, like Shayna, and on her like pretty much her debut, and have and like there's also especially rumors that she was gonna take time off. Becky was gonna take time off for something, but then we got the match, and the match is good. I actually like the match. There's some nice spots. Shayna did this one spot where like she grabbed Becky by the legs and then moved her, like swung her into like the bottom corner of the announce table. That looked like it hurt, like not just in kayfabe. Like kayfabe, in case you don't know, is basically like the WWE canon. Like, but that looked like it hurt in real life. Like, but then there was a pinfall, or here's the finish. I think it was like I don't remember how it was like a roll up, but I don't remember like what what it was into the roll up. Like I think Shayna was trying to like submit Becky. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think Shayna was trying to submit Becky, and then Becky rolled up Shayna, and then it was like 1, 2. Shayna like lifted her leg up, like if for you visual listeners, this is Shayna's leg. She lifted up like this, but the rest still counted 3. But that was like okay. This is one of those matches where it's like a good match, but the finish ruined it. Like I'm surprised. I am surprised, but at the same time, I probably should have known better that WWE, like this is WWE we're talking about. Um, we are, they if there's anyone to call up a monster heel from another brand and have them mow down opponents, have them be like the first ever person in an elimination chamber to eliminate everyone, and then have them lose. It's WWE to do that, and that's what they did. I don't know what's next for Shayna. I feel like Becky has done like everything she could during this reign as Raw Women's Champion, so I don't know what the point of this was. It was better to put the title on Shayna, but I don't know. Like, this makes no sense. So I was thinking maybe they can pull a swerve and have tomorrow night, night 2, Shayna issues a rematch and then she wins, or maybe make a Raw after WrestleMania moment where Shayna wins. It just doesn't make sense to have Shayna lose like this, but that's not going to happen. Watch it happen, and I both made that prediction and am talking about that prediction being like right or wrong within the same episode. That's the magic of editing. But yeah, not really much. I mean, no, there was a good match, but that finish, man, Shayna should have definitely won that. All right, Now, next up, what was next? Oh, this one. I briefly mentioned this one earlier. Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan. Now, on a technical standpoint, this match is this match was probably could have been the best of the night. Because Daniel Bryan is great, Sami Zayn is great, but let me tell you the story. So, basically, what we got here is Sami Zayn is like a excuse me. Sami Zayn is like a manager. He's a good wrestler, but he was giving this manager role for like most of 2019. It was kind of dumb, but he managed Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro and it was they call themselves the Artist Collective. So Shinsuke Nakamura was the Intercontinental Champion. All right, this match is for the Intercontinental Champion, by the way. Sami Zayn was the Intercontinental Champion. So originally, though, Shinsuke Nakamura was the Intercontinental Champion. It's hard to say Intercontinental Champion fast, but he was the IC. He was the IC champion. Um, and then lost it to Braun Strowman, who we'll get into a bit later. And then Braun Strowman, like was trying to sign a contract for a match with not Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura at Elimination Chamber, and he goes, "I'll take on all three of you. I'm signing this thing." And then Sammy goes, "Oh, you're gonna take on all three of us? Okay." So it's a 3-on-1 handicap match for the Intercontinental Champion, which was weird because at the time I was confused. Like, what if the three win? Are all three of them the IC champion? So basically, the rule was, you got like the person who pins Strowman is the IC champion, and so that's that. Um, I don't know why the three wouldn't argue over who's pinning Strowman, but Sami Zayn was the one who pinned Strowman, and it was in a very heelish, very sneaky way. It was he didn't win it like a wrestler. He won it like a manager that basically pussied out. So then what happened? Whoops, sorry about that. What happened here was the next Friday on SmackDown. Um, After Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak had that awesome match at Elimination Chamber, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, Cesaro all confronted Gulak and Bryan, and then Bryan said, "Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Put your title on the line at WrestleMania." So the next week, believe this, Drew Gulak had to beat Shinsuke Nakamura so Daniel Bryan could have a match with Sami Zayn at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Champion. Wrap your head around that. But that's what happened, and so we got Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn, which sounds awesome. I wanted this to be Sami Zayn being a wrestler, not just a manager that happened to be in a wrestling match. That's kind of what happened. A good portion of the beginning of the match was just Sami Zayn running out of the ring, and then a bunch of shenanigans went on. You know, there was Cesaro and Nakamura for Sami Zayn, and Drew Gulak was there with Daniel Bryan. I guess they completely ignored the pre-show match between Cesaro and Gulak, but I guess that's I guess that didn't happen. So the three of them get taken out, so it's just Bryan and Zayn. And then basically Sami Zayn just wrestles like a fucking manager. I was kind of disappointed with this match because I really wanted it to be like if Sami Zayn wrestled like a wrestler, this match would have been awesome, but it wasn't. Eventually, Sami Zayn won it in the end, retained the title. Exactly what I thought was going to happen. As in, I thought he was going to retain, but I thought he was going to retain it like a wrestler, not just Oh, look at me. Whoop! I win. I don't know what that was, but yeah, I was disappointed with this. So next up, what was next? Uh, ooh, John Morrison versus Jimmy Uso versus Kofi Kingston in a triple threat ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Here's the story here. Well, there wasn't that big of a build up. A match like this, I feel like doesn't need too much of a build up. But here's what happened here. You might be thinking, wait, you just list one person each, but this is a SmackDown Tag Team Champion match. And yeah, here's what was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be the New Day, which is Kofi Kingston and Big E, versus the Usos, Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso, and John Morrison and The Miz. Um, by the way, for you guys that don't know, listeners or viewers, Jimmy Uso is on the left, Kofi Kingston is on the right, and John Morrison is in the middle. Um, so what happened though is that Miz showed up to a show sick, and that's what got Roman Reigns to pull out because he's immunocompromised. But they couldn't do this triple threat ladder match, which sounded awesome, but it didn't happen. So uh, I heard rumors that it was going to be John Morrison versus one of the Usos, which was weird. And so we got instead John Morrison versus Jimmy Uso versus Kofi Kingston, and that sounds good. And this was a good ladder match. I liked it. I remember this one part. Jim Uso just said some random shit like "I'll squish." He said something like "I'll squish your face like a pancake, boy." Like I was watching this with my brother, and we just started laughing because it was like, "What? What did he just say?" But yeah, there are some cool spots in here, as there is in a ladder match. Yeah, basically the build to this, it was basically like, so one night of SmackDown, there was, um, fuck, uh, shit. Um, I just lost my. Oh yeah, uh, Miz and Morrison went against Heavy Machinery, which was Otis and Tucker, and Otis has a match later on, and it kind of plays into this. So not later on this night, the next night, still in this video though, but so basically, if Otis and Tucker, Heavy Machinery, win, they get a match for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions at WrestleMania. But Dolph Ziggler kind of costed the Heavy Machinery their match at WrestleMania, um, which is going to be something I'll talk about more in when I talk about Otis and Dolph. But so it was announced that the next week on SmackDown there's going to be a match between the New Day and the Usos, and the winner gets to face the Miz and Morrison at WrestleMania. Now you may be wondering, oh wait, why was it one of them? But it turned out to be both of them. Well, they had their match, but then Miz and Morrison uh, interfered and caused a disqualification, and so it was announced that you won't be facing one of these teams, you'll be facing both of these teams in a triple threat ladder match. Now, I was excited because, those WrestleMania ladder matches are always good, but, and this was definitely a good match. John Morrison came out the winner, which I thought was good. Miz and Morrison, I feel like they haven't, they didn't have a long enough reign yet, so I feel like it is too soon to take the titles off of them. It would have made sense to put the titles on the Usos, but at the same time, Miz and Morrison they're not a new tag team, but they recently came back. John Morrison came back after a long hiatus. Like he left back in 2011, 12, something like that. So So yeah, it would have, and the Usos won it like 6 times already, so it made sense to keep it on the Miz and Morrison. But yeah, and it also probably was a better idea to have the titles retained because like it would have been like if the Usos won, it would have been like a big feat. They're now tied with the New Day to have the same amount of SmackDown Tag Team Championship wins. That it would have kind of been less, effective, I guess, if it was only one of them that were in the match to win the tag team champions. So I think it was better that we got John Morrison to win it and retain it. The finish was kind of weird though. This was strange because like a minute or two earlier, I said I like how in these ladder matches, whenever someone is on the ladder by themselves, like they know how to unhook it, but once someone else gets on to the ladder, like they they forget how to unhook the belts or whatever it is they're trying to unhook. So that's funny to me. But then the finish just completely threw that out the window. The finish had uh, Morrison, Jim Uso, and Kofi all on top of the ladder. There are 2 ladders, which is why there's 3 people up there. They all unhooked the belts were on like some sort of like hanger looking thing. They all unhooked that. So they were all like fighting over it, basically playing tug of war. And John Morrison just fell off the ladder with the 2 belts, and so he won. Very strange way to win, but I feel like it was the right call. Um, Not to win in that way, but have him win. Next up is um, Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins. This one had a good enough build up. This was built up a while ago. Now there was Survivor Series where so this actually I'd say this actually kind of started a build since NXT Takeover Chicago, where you got this one, the bad guy team, the Undisputed Era, were against Tommaso Ciampa and Keith Lee and fucking Dominic Dijakovic. But there's 4 of the Undisputed Era, so there's one missing guy on the good guy team, you know. It turned out to be Kevin Owens. The next night, though, Seth Rollins, who's the captain of Team Raw, which Kevin Owens happened to be in, was like, "Yo, what's with your loyalty to Team Raw?" And then Kevin's like, "Oh no, I just had a score to settle with the Undisputed Era. I'm Team Raw tonight." Blah blah blah. And then he asks about Kevin. No, Kevin asks about Seth's loyalty, and then brings up how he betrayed the Shield once. And then next night on Raw, Seth Rollins is mad at the Raw roster because they got annihilated at Survivor Series, and Kevin Owens fucking stunnered Seth Rollins. A bunch of other stuff happened. Seth Rollins turned heel. He got the AOP on his side, and then he got Buddy Murphy, who changed his name to Murphy. He lost his first name. So, and then like Kevin Owens got like Samoa Joe and the Big Show and the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits, and you got a bunch of people involved. But and then a bunch of stuff happened. Uh, Kevin Owens costed Seth Rollins and Murphy their tag team titles against the Street Profits. No, the Street Profits come in here with the champions. Uh, that didn't happen tonight. They happened the next night. Be talking about them later. Um, so basically, and they announced their match, and then Seth Rollins makes fun of Kevin Owens' WrestleMania record, and there we go. He says Kevin Owens basically never won a WrestleMania match. He's obviously forgotten about Kevin Owens' match with Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 30, 32, I think. I don't remember. Um, But yeah, 33, I believe it was. So all that happened, and then yeah, this was a match that belonged here. I feel, despite us already getting this match like in a singles match on live TV, that was when it was sort of like that was before it was built up. Well, it was just a brand new feud. These two have been feuding forever, ever since Seth Rollins turned heel. In fact, these two have been feuding. Like even when Seth Rollins was feuding with the Street Profits, Kevin Owens was still somehow involved with that. So very interesting. And I almost like I was thinking this match would be much better if it had some sort of stipulation, but it didn't have a stipulation. So, oh well. I hope to see a good match because these are two really good performers. Um, and I almost like fucking hated this match because basically Seth Rollins took Kevin Owens into the timekeepers area and slammed his face onto the bell, and the ref had to call the match because that was a DQ, and then which awarded the win to Kevin Owens. Seth Rollins was like, haha, you won, but like not really because I'm an asshole. And then Kevin Owens is like, Seth, you coward, you gotta beat me. Let's have a rematch, no disqualifications. And then exactly what this match needed, a stipulation like that. So they had their match. Um, there was you can't mention this match without talking about how Kevin Owens went up on top of the fucking WrestleMania sign and frog splashed Seth Rollins onto the announce table. That was fucking awesome. Soon after, Kevin Owens got the victory, beating adding another loss to Seth Rollins' WrestleMania record. Pretty good. No, this was a good match. I really like this match. Yeah. Next up is Goldberg versus Braun Strowman. Now, here's the thing. This match is gonna be Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. It was This match is kind of strange actually. This match is now Goldberg versus Braun Strowman, but like back at like the Royal Rumble, this match was going to be uh, Roman Reigns versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt. But basically, what happened here is Vince McMahon decided, nah, the Fiend, you might be over. Everyone might love you, think that you're such a unique, you know, character, one of the most unique characters we've had in years. But nah, you gotta give that belt to Goldberg and have Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. Which that sounds really good, actually. Spear versus spear, it shouldn't go on for too long. Um, then very recently, Roman Reigns, because The Miz was sick, Roman Reigns is immunocompromised and he decided to pull out of the event. So Braun Strowman was the replacement. So there's not much of a build up here. In fact, the way that Braun Strowman replacing Roman Reigns was announced, fucking stupid. Want to know how that was announced? Okay, no, that's literally the equivalent to me saying, I got some new videos going up. I got the top 10 best games that also suck. And I also have top 10 games that are so bad they're good. But then the next week, I say, actually, I'm not doing top 10 games that are so bad they're good. I'm doing top 10 movies that they're so bad they're good, in a way. Basically, they're showing, like, the card, like they usually do on their shows to hype up WrestleMania. And then they just say, oh, sorry about that, a little interruption happened. But, it was like, so Goldberg is defending his Universal Champion against Strowman. That was it. That was it. So there's no build. I kind of wondered. I heard someone say this, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point. How would the hype video go? There was no hype video. I can tell you. Now I can tell you this entire match. The thing about Goldberg is he doesn't go long. His matches don't go long. So I can tell you the whole match. Started with spear from Goldberg to Strowman. Goldberg is the one in the photo with the belt, by the way, and Strowman isn't. So spear, 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 spear. Strowman kicks out at 2. Goldberg goes for the jackhammer, which he was barely able to do that to Bray Wyatt. So he cannot do it to Strowman, which he didn't. Like, that was planned. He ended up failing, and Strowman did a running power slam, and another running power slam, another running power slam. How many was that? 3? Say that was 3, and another running power slam. 1, 2, 3. Strowman's the Universal Champion. Look, this was good. I kind of wasn't. I wanted Strowman to win. I didn't want to see a part-time Universal Champion again, even more. Especially if it's one that shows up less than Brock Lesnar. But Strowman wasn't really built up that well for this match and for a world title reign. But he deserves it. Like, he's kind of lost his sort of momentum. He's not as he was like red hot like 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe even, where they should have put the belt on him, but they didn't. Then now they finally do. Watch them like take it off him on Friday. I'm telling you, if I would not put it past them to do that, but it's good to see him get the belt. I'm sure it would have been a much better moment if there was a crowd. Some of these moments like kind of needed a crowd, but to be honest though, I'm not quite sure because I don't know if people like don't care about Strowman anymore, but they got it now. I didn't think Strowman was gonna win because whenever Strowman has a match like this, he always loses. Like he'll win like smaller matches, but he won't win a big match like this. But he ended up winning, so that's good. Then we get the main event of the first night of WrestleMania. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles. The build up here was kind of like, I was like, what the fuck are they doing here? So what happened was, you know, there was this Tuake trophy at Super Showdown. Tuake appeared it was in Saudi Arabia. It was a Saudi Arabia show, so it was a gauntlet match where two people start the match, and one person wins, and then someone else enters, and then someone else wins between them, someone else enters, yada, 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 yada. Like, 6 people are involved. So, what happens here, AJ is in the ring. He was the 5th person to join, and then he's waiting for, he's waiting for the 6th person to come out, which is Rey Mysterio. But you can see him getting attacked backstage by his AJ's buddies, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. And then so he tells the ref, count to 10, and if Rey Mysterio doesn't make it by the count of 10, I win the trophy. So, ref is counting, and then you can see on the screen black boots and a black trench coat with Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows on the ground, like fucking dead. And then it's The Undertaker. He comes, choke slams AJ Styles, and fucking pins him. So he won the fucking match. And then at Elimination Chamber, there was fucking Alistair Black and AJ Styles in a no disqualification match, and then later on, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson and AJ Styles all ganged up on Alistair Black, and then lights went out, lights went back on. Undertaker was choking Gallows and Anderson, and then chokeslammed AJ Styles, and then Alistair Black defeated AJ Styles. And then, here's what happened. Alistair Black decides to start making fun of AJ Styles. No, not Alistair. What am I saying? Not even making fun. Nothing about it. Nothing about what I just said was correct. Let me rephrase that. But so this is the build up here, the story. This is a personal match, but it really didn't need to be because what happened here is AJ Styles says of the Undertaker, he's like a 50-year-old who can't wrestle anymore. He's out of his league. Is a shell of his former self, and I just see a washed-up old man named Mark Calloway, which is the Undertaker's real name. So then, and he brings up the Undertaker's wife, who is Michelle McCool, who happens to be also a wrestler. All that, and then uh, AJ challenges The Undertaker to a Boneyard match, which, if you want me to explain the rules to that match, I can't. Want to know why? Because I didn't know what this match was before. And I Googled it, and it wasn't a match. I'll get into that in a sec, though. So, yeah, and then last Monday, Undertaker dropped a really good promo on AJ Styles. He called him Alan Jones, which is AJ. Um, Well, Allen, I forgot what the J was, but I don't know if it was Jones or not. But so that all happened, and then so Boneyard match. It wasn't really a match at all. Like it didn't take place in the ring. It was like took place in some like yard where it was like it was almost like a movie scene, a fight scene in a movie. That was interesting. Like I wasn't like you watch wrestling, you don't expect this stuff. But it had like wrestling moves and stuff, wrestling shenanigans, all that stuff. Um, there's a part where like AJ Styles like speared Undertaker through a fence, and then another part where Undertaker chokeslammed AJ Styles of a off the roof to a house, then fucking buried AJ, and then yeah, AJ's hand was sticking out. It's pretty scary. So Undertaker won, but it was good. It was not a wrestling match, but I think the point of it was that it wasn't a wrestling match. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was definitely weird and interesting. So yeah, watch AJ come back on Raw like nothing happened. Yeah, I'm alive, guys. Like, they gotta sell this, like not have him come back for a little bit, just to sell the burial, you know. So that was night one of WrestleMania. I mean, it was enjoyable because it was WrestleMania. I wish uh, Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn was a better match. I wish Becky and Baszler, you know, I wish the Baszler won. Um, you know, Corbin versus Elias sort of just happened. The Kabuki Warriors and Alexa Bliss the Kabuki Warriors and Alexa Bliss and Cross sort of just happened, even if there was a deserving title change involved. In the pre-show match, Drew Gulak and uh, Cesaro also sort of just happened. So there are a couple matches that sort of just happened. I saw someone on Twitter kind of compare this to a Saudi show. That's true. A bunch of part-timers, in which there's only one of them tonight. No, two of them tonight, I think. Yeah, no, there's two of them tonight. Uh, but not too many title changes. Well, like half the titles that were defended fucking changed. So yeah, there's the same amount of titles that were defended. The same amount of titles that changed also didn't change. So you can't really say there weren't too many title changes. There were definitely like I'm cool with Morrison keeping the belt. Um, actually, wait, no. Actually, yeah, I was wrong. Yeah, no, I was wrong. There's only one title. No, two title changes, three title retentions. But there's another night still, and I will be talking about that later on. So uh, you'll be listening to me in 1 second. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Well, back from me. For you, it's just been like 1 second, but it's been 24 hours for me almost. Just got done watching WrestleMania Night 2. And yeah, just get right into this. First, a few things that you know, that I kind of, you know, thought about a little more about Night 1. The Braun Strowman versus Goldberg match was not a good match at all. Um, but they had the right winner. That's basically all I wanted to add. But all right, let's get into this with the pre-show match. Of course, this is Natalya and Liv Morgan. You want me to explain the build-up? Is this a WrestleMania match? Well, there was no build-up at all. In fact, Liv Morgan was feuding with Lana, and then started feuding with uh, Sarah Logan and Ruby Riott. And a whole bunch of weird stuff happened with her. This wasn't. What was weird is Natalya was acting like a heel, but there was no heel turn. Something on my computer. Yeah, there's no heel turn in there, so I don't really get that. But yeah, this one sort of just happened. All right. Sorry about that pause. But I want to look up the order of the matches, see if I was just the order of the match. So, all right, match 1 was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Champion. Now, here's the story with this. Basically, NXT is like its own little brand, and it's kind of like developmental, but they've established themselves as a bigger brand that is on par with Raw and SmackDown. So there was Survivor Series where there was Team Raw, Team SmackDown, and Team NXT, and then um, uh, the captains for each team was for Team Raw it was Charlotte Flair, and Team NXT was Rhea Ripley, and so for that it was uh, so Rhea Ripley was able to beat Charlotte there. So fast forward a little bit to the Royal Rumble. Charlotte wins the Royal Rumble, and she comes out next night on Raw. She goes, I'm fighting. I'm going to be challenging a random mass champion at WrestleMania. So that's cool, keeping the mystery. And then like the next week on Raw, she goes, I've already beaten Bayley. I've already beaten Becky. Who else is there? And then Rhea Ripley comes out, and and you know she had a match with Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, not WrestleMania, NXT Takeover Portland, which was a few weeks later. And going on to that, uh, Rhea beat Bianca, and then Charlotte ambushed Rhea, and then after the match, and then Charlotte goes, I'll see you at WrestleMania. So basically, that was basically the whole story. There's like, they'd confront each other a couple times. There's this one segment, like last week on Raw, where it showed like Rhea Ripley getting to the Performance Center, and Charlotte like sort of pushing her with her foot, but like she Rhea like oversold it. It was weird. But we get to this match, which I like this match, but kind of like the Becky and Baszler one, which also happened to be a main roster versus NXT match. Man, I didn't like the finish. Here, I'll get to that, but this was, nice action in here. I think Charlotte and Rhea, their styles go together really well. Um, yeah, but the finish, you see, this was simple. because you get Rhea Ripley to win, and that does two things, or no, multiple things. One, it gets NXT over, it gets Rhea Ripley over, and it proves that Charlotte is like someone who, like, Rhea beats Charlotte, and Rhea like proves that she's like really good, and she proves that at the expense of Charlotte, so that makes Charlotte look good. Um, But they didn't do that. They had Charlotte win for I don't know why. I really like this is the one match. Like with Becky and Shayna, at least there's kind of a reason. I thought about that a little more. I guess like Becky is still like kind of reminds me of John Cena because like the kids really looked up to him, but older older people sort of got sick of him and turned on him. It's kind of the same with Becky. Like I feel like the younger fans are like still into her, but this one made no sense. Like Charlotte's not even on NXT. How is she? What? And this does nothing for either of them. Charlotte won the. She's a 10-time women's champion. She doesn't need an 11th reign, let alone at the expense of an NXT wrestler. Like, it doesn't make much sense to me, but it was a good match. I like the match. Alright, next up, um, it was Alistair Black versus Bobby Lashley. Now, you visual listeners, you don't know, Alistair Black is on the left, and Bobby Lashley is on the right. Um, so, this one, I explain the build-up, the feud. Does this belong at WrestleMania? No, no, and no. There's no build-up to this match at all. These two never even interacted with each other, which I guess maybe that, in a way, could have made it like an interesting bout, seeing these two interact for the first time. But not at WrestleMania. Like, this is a match. I guess maybe it sounds like a pay-per-view match, but it's not a WrestleMania match. And there wasn't much to it either. There's not really much I could pick out of that, except for the finish where Alistair Black delivered the Black Mass, where it's supposed to be, you guys don't know, it's supposed to be a kick to the face pretty much. But I swear, I remember my head, um, just checking something, sorry about that. I swear in my head, I remember Alistair Black just kicked Bobby Lashley in the shoulder, so I don't get what happened there, but, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to it. I remember Alistair Black did, like, do, like, a backflip off, like, the top turnbuckle and onto Lashley outside of the ring. I don't know. Alistair Black is a cool character. He's a cool wrestler. Bobby Lashley is pretty good. These two, their styles, I don't think, go together too well. They're, like, polar opposites. They didn't have a feud at all or anything. This match sort of just happened probably to get Alistair Black on the card because I think they originally planned on not even having Lashley at Mania at all. So I think they wanted to have Alistair Black on the card. So this match took place for that reason. Um, but yeah, I don't. Other than that, though, it didn't have much of a purpose to happen at all. Now, this one was probably one of the more interesting ones going in. I gotta find a better place. There's like a weird interruption. But yeah, Otis and Dolph Ziggler. This is Dolph Ziggler's first singles match at Mania. And I mean, it's also Otis's, but it's kind of his first WrestleMania, so I wouldn't count that. Here's what happened, basically. See, there's more than just these two involved. This was supposed to be like supposed to have more people in the match, but basically, let's see. God, this is like probably one of the biggest stories going into Mania, so I have to like think all the way back. It's basically there's like some backstage segments with Otis and fucking Mandy Rose, who's another wrestler. And like there seemed to be like an on-screen relationship there. And then Otis asks Mandy out on a date, and she says yes. And then Otis and Mandy have their date on Valentine's Day, and then what happens here is uh, Mandy goes to the restaurant waiting for Otis, just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then right when Otis arrives, he hasn't gotten to Mandy yet. But right when Otis arrives, you see a hand on Mandy's shoulder, and it's Dolph Ziggler, and it's like, ooh, like you want Dolph to get fucked up now. So pretty much, yeah. All bunch of stuff happened between them. And then there's some there's a kind of a lot of nothing that went on. Um, so then there was this one moment I mentioned earlier where the Miz and John Morrison had a match against Heavy Machinery, which was Otis and Tucker, and if Otis and Tucker won, they get a chance at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Tag Champions. And then Dolph Ziggler crashed the match, and basically he was showing Otis a bunch of pictures of Dolph and Mandy, and then uh, that got Otis to go on a rampage, and eventually get him and Tucker DQ'd and cost them their opportunity. The next week, Dolph is talking to Mandy like this. Oh yeah, yeah. He's such an idiot. Stuff. It's just basically trashing Otis, and then you see Otis like confronting Dolph, and Dolph goes, "Let's have a fight at WrestleMania." So that was confirmed. But then last SmackDown, this one was interesting here. Um, there's like some glitch thingy that goes on, and it said the truth will be heard, and it showed camera footage of Mandy and Sonya talking, and Mandy's getting ready for her date with Otis. She leaves the room for something. Sonya, who is Mandy's like friend and like tag team partner, takes Mandy's phone and texts Otis, "I will be a little bit late," or something like that. And then Otis goes, "Sounds good, Mandy." So that happened, and then basically that explains why Otis was a lot later than Mandy. And then Sonya deletes the messages, and then you see her talking to Dolph, and so that all happened, and then Mandy's just like, "What the fuck, Sonya?" and then walked away. Um, so all that stuff happened. Now we get to this match, and this match, I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't say this match was that like amazing or anything. I mean, Otis is good, Dolph is good, but what it had at the end, probably this is one of those matches I feel kind of needed a crowd. I feel because Otis and Dolph, like Otis, like he's massively over. For you non-wrestling fans that are for some reason listening to this, you over means like the crowd loves you pretty much. Um, so like the crowd wasn't behind him because the crowd wasn't there. So yeah, it did suffer a little bit without a crowd, but they put on a good match. But it was I wouldn't say it was like that good or anything. It was decent. It wasn't that bad or anything, but it was pretty short. As Sonya went out to the ring with Dolph, and So, what happened was Sonya was distracting the ref, which let Dolph give Otis a low blow, and what happened next was Mandy ran out to the ring and attacked Sonya, which is something we've never seen before. Like, okay, that sounds like sarcasm, but no, like that's kind of something that they've teased, but they've never actually done it. So that this is one thing I like. Something at WrestleMania started. This started a program between the two, hopefully. So that happened, and then the ref was distracted again. Uh, Dolph yelled to Mandy, "Why are you ruining everything?" Something like that. Mandy gives Dolph a low blow, and then Otis does like the caterpillar, which is basically the worm. Um, I don't actually remember. It's called one of the two, but and gets the 1, 2, 3. He grabs Mandy and is holding her, and then they kiss, and then they run away from the ring, and that's that. So that was the payoff. There's probably more to this feud, but it'll probably be on the side of Mandy and Sonya, which I'm interested in seeing, to be honest. Um, it was a good match, but it's probably more of an angle, I guess. It's probably more of like the more important stuff is probably like what was surrounding it. Like Otis finally got his hands on Dolph, but what he got the girl at the end, which everyone wanted to see. So that's good. Next up is this one. Now this one was probably I I'm probably like I said like Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn. Um, I was probably the most interested in that one on a technical aspect. When it comes to the story here, Edge and Randy Orton. This one was this one people mm, I think I speak for most people, or a good portion of people, where if I say this match probably was built up better than anything else on the show. Eh, okay, that's gross. But this match, last man standing, no less. For those of you who don't know, visual listeners, um, let me find the image. Edge is on the left, Randy Orton is on the right. Um, so with this, here's the story. Edge, he's a fucking awesome wrestler, but he had to retire back in like 2011 because he had I think it was spinal stenosis, which like every every wrestler that's gotten that had to retire from in ring competition. I believe like Steve Austin had to retire due to that, and a few others, and he didn't. But come to the Royal Rumble. Yeah, uh, blah. Come to the Royal Rumble, and there's a lot of rumors about Edge being in the Royal Rumble, which like was crazy because we haven't seen him compete in a ring in a while. So Edge did enter, and it didn't ruin the feel good ish vibes, whatever. Because some guy you haven't seen wrestle for 9 years is finally back, and it's awesome. And him and Randy Orton, who had a team back in let's say like 2006, 7, 8, around then, Rated RKO. They team up a little bit in this match, and then towards the end, Edge eliminates Randy Orton. So the next night on Raw, Edge comes, delivers a promo saying, "I've waited 9 years to get back into the ring." And Randy Orton comes, and then basically that's like Randy Orton goes like, "How about Rated RKO? Gets back together again." And The crowd loves it, but then Randy Orton with the RKO onto Edge, and then a concerto, which, for you that don't know, is Randy Orton put Edge's head onto a chair. Then he took another chair and hit the head. But really, he hit the other chair, but it's in kayfabe, it's the head. So, that took out Edge for a while. Again, in kayfabe. And then what happened on and on and on again was basically Randy Orton having so much heel heat. And there's one segment with Matt Hardy, which, WWE aren't gonna acknowledge that because look at where Matt Hardy is now in AEW. But we get to where Randy Orton or where Beth Phoenix, Edge's wife, comes out on stage and says is going to give a health update on Edge, but then before she can even say anything, Randy Orton comes out and uh, just basically goes off on Beth Phoenix, saying she's a terrible mother and he cares about Edge. And then at the end, he RKO's Beth Phoenix. And then the next week on Raw, Edge comes with a vengeance. All that stuff happens. The next week on Raw, Edge challenges Randy Orton to a last man standing match. And that's basically everything there is. So, now we get to this match. This match was awesome. Whoops. I think this might have been my favorite match of the night. There's that one point where I thought it was finished, and I was kind of like, yeah, this match is good, but I don't know. No, if it finished there, it wouldn't have been that good, but it finished where it did, and good match. So, I can't recall everything that happened. I'm not one of those people that take notes during these matches, but, good match. They're in the Performance Center. But they left the ring and they went like backstage, a bunch of places. They go to the gym that is within this performance center, this training facility. And they go to there's like weights and stuff that they use as weapons, and then they go to like this area, they go to like this office and they fight in there, and then they go to like this area with trucks and stuff, and they fight on top of a truck. Like aside from that last area, a gym and an office, you're never gonna see any other wrestling match take place in there because they're all in like big ass stadiums. This one's in the performance center, so this was I feel this match was like one of a kind. I feel like this match was awesome. It had some awesome moments as well, like when Edge put Randy Orton onto the office table, and then had and then he was hanging on like the lights that were on the ceiling, and then like elbow dropped onto Randy Orton. That was awesome. Even if it was like not a whole lot, but it was really cool. Yeah, this match was just very entertaining. So what happened at the end though was Edge like speared Randy Orton on top of a truck, then took two chairs, did a concerto, put Orton's head on the chair, and then hit Orton's head with another chair, and then the ref counted to 10, and Randy Orton did not get up, which is the rule for a last man standing match, and therefore Edge won. But he seemed to show a little bit of remorse, because, yeah, that shows a human side of Edge, and Edge is a good actor now. Like, after he took time off, after he had retired from the ring, like, he did acting classes. He appeared as Adam Smasher in, I think, The Flash. So, Yeah, he's a good actor, and he acted very well in this. This was probably my favorite match of the night. Next up, we got um. Yeah, see, I'm trying to find the next match. Right now, it's just a bunch of stuff. It's showing a bunch of like Twitter videos of the match that I just talked about. But oh, there's like an interlude here where Rob Gronkowski, the host, is talking and stuff, and then you know Mojo Rawley. I never said, but last night the Mojo Rawley took the 24/7 champion from R-Truth, which 24/7 champion is basically like you can pin the champion at any point, anywhere. So, like, fucking, I can find the champion, and I can fucking pin the champion. So, uh, Rob Gronkowski, he just pinned Mojo Rawley. That I didn't see this, to be honest. I had skipped a lot because we had to replay something from because there's something weird that went on with the network. Network's not the best thing, but yeah, I didn't really get to see this, and I didn't bother to rewatch it. So next up was sort of a cool down match, but it was still pretty solid, even if it was a bit short. The Street Profits, which is Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, versus the team of Austin Theory and Angel Garza. Now, this match is supposed to be Angel Garza and Andrade, who's the United States champion, but he got injured, so Austin Theory is the replacement. Basically, there's not really much of a story here. This match was sort of just announced at complete random. And yeah, that's. But a match like this, I feel, doesn't really need to be a story. The Street Profits sort of just needed a challenger. I feel like it shouldn't have been, the Garza and Theory, because they're new and they they're fresh and everything, and you kind of just gave them a loss, especially Theory. Theory's the one they just called up Theory, Austin Theory. He just debuted to replace Andrade, but he just debuted and he's the one who took the pin. So like they finished these matches. I didn't even mention with Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley where Charlotte shouldn't have won. Even then, they also had Rhea Ripley tap. Like, it wasn't a pin. So yeah, I don't know. This match was fine. I wasn't offended by it or anything, but yeah, there wasn't too much that went on. There's at one point in the match where it sounded like um it sounded like Angelo Dawkins, not no Montez Ford yelled, "Let's go, Dunkin' Donuts!" I was so confused, but there's also one moment where Angel Garza flipped off the top of the turnbuckle onto Ford, Dawkins, and Theory. Yeah, on his own tag team partner. Never understood why they did that. So that happened, but eventually, the Street Profits won against Theory and Garza. 1, 2, 3, yeah. But then there's a post-match assault where Theory and Garza and Zelina Vega, who accompanied uh, Austin Theory and Angel Garza, they all attacked Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. But then Montez Ford's wife, fucking Bianca Belair, who I mentioned earlier, actually, a part of the Charlotte and Rhea thing, came out, and I guess she's a face now. Was this a call up? Was this a face turn? there's so many questions here, but it was a cool little moment. She came to the aid of Dawkins and Ford, and basically beat the shit out of Zelina Vega. So that was a nice moment. It would have probably been cooler with the crowd, but it was nice. Next up is a fatal five-way for the SmackDown Women's Champion. Is Bayley defending her title against Sasha Banks, Naomi, Lacey Evans, and Tamina. Now, for you that don't know, visual listeners, um, Lacey Evans is the one on the far left, and Sasha Banks is the one next to her, and Naomi's on the far right. Tamina's next to her, and then Bayley's the one with the champion. So, um, as for the build to this match, wasn't really much of one, was there? I mean, I guess prior to this match getting announced, but basically, no, there wasn't a build at all. Well, kind of like I'd say like a week or two before that, like fucking Sasha and Bayley ran out of the arena and said, "How we shouldn't even compete at WrestleMania." And yeah, and then that had so Paige was on like a Skype call. Paige is like some other wrestler like retired or some shit, and then I don't get what her role in here was. I guess she has like authority, but she says like, "Oh, I could announce your match, Bayley, for at a fuck at WrestleMania. You're going against uh Lacey Evans and Dana Brooke." And then uh, Dana Brooke wasn't in this match because she was quarantined. They just quietly just removed her from the match, which was pretty weird. But and then she goes, "I already beat Lacey Evans, and who else are you gonna add? Tamina." Who the joke there is Tamina has not been used on TV like ever, and then she fucking add Tamina, and Bayley goes, "What the fuck?" And then Paige goes, I'm adding Naomi as well," and then Sasha goes, "Oh, you bitch," and then Paige goes, "Okay, you're added to the match now." So that happened, and then for the next few weeks, the five of them, um, again, Dana Brooke was quarantined, so she not in this. So Sasha, Bayley, Lacey, Naomi, and Tamina, they just brawl with each other for the next few weeks leading up to WrestleMania. Now, here's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Sasha and Bayley, and I'm sure everyone else did. But because yeah, this these two had a great match back in NXT, and so they're capable of putting on great matches against each other. So they should really, do that. And this was supposed to happen. This would have been like the perfect opportunity, and it was supposed to actually happen here, but they didn't have like the time to build it up. Some weird shit happened, so they didn't have it. They threw fucking six more, or oh boy, six more. That they threw fucking four more people in there. One was removed because of quarantine, so they really threw in three more people. And there you go. But what I wanted to see happen, I knew it was going to be either Sasha or Bayley the because the match was going to be both of them, so it would just make sense if one of them would win. Um, so it was an elimination match as well. So basically, what happened was Tamina. I predicted she'd be the first one to be eliminated, but and she was, but she was going to be like this dominant force, just beating up everyone in the match. Um, beating up Lacey, beating up Naomi, and then Bayley, and then Sasha. The four of them eventually ganged up on Tamina, and then 1, 2, 3, and then Tamina was the first one eliminated. And then some other stuff happened, and then we got Naomi was tapped to the bank statement, I believe, which is Sasha's submission move, and then we got we got an interesting thing where how do I like Sasha and Bayley, like something happens between the two of them, and then Bayley and Lacey are fighting, and Sasha comes up to Bayley and goes, "The fuck, you betrayed." Oh, this I don't think I mentioned this. They're supposed to be friends, like they're friends. That's another reason why everyone wants to see them fight, because they're friends. Um, It's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? So that happened, and then um, basically here, Lacey Evans gave a women's right, which is just basically just a punch to the face. To Sasha, Bayley didn't help Sasha. They made note of that, and then Sasha got eliminated. So it was Bayley versus Lacey, and there wasn't a whole lot there. Sasha strangely helped Bayley get the win over Lacey. That was strange because they teased the breakup there, but they didn't pull the trigger. In fact, they still teamed up. I don't get it. Hopefully, going into SummerSlam, we'll get these two in a match. But yeah, it was a entertaining match, but I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that happened in it where you just got to question. Like, I'm fine with the winner. The winner didn't like this was like I don't know, Tamina. I just can't see being champion, and Naomi and Lacey already failed against Bayley. Sasha would have been a good winner, but obviously it would make sense to build a match between the two of them before you put the belt on Sasha. But like you didn't, not much happened here. Is what I'm trying to say. So we're moving on to quite the interesting match. John Cena and Bray Wyatt, or the Fiend Bray Wyatt, or whatever the fuck this was, because Firefly Funhouse match. Now, what's that? I'll get into that in a bit. It was this experience was similar to the Boneyard match, where it's sort of like a movie, but this also kind of wasn't a movie. The build up here. This is definitely like I feel of everything that's sound on paper is what I was trying to say. On paper, of all these matches, like for a good while, there's only like 5 matches announced when we're like 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. This was one of the 5, and this one was probably like the biggest, like most high profile match that was announced. The Fiend versus John Cena. So what happened? The build kind of goes all the way back to 2014 in a way, because John Cena and Bray Wyatt had a match at WrestleMania 30, which is 2014. Damn, that's a while ago. But yeah, so they had their match there, and then John Cena beat the Fiend. So now we get here. John Cena comes on SmackDown saying, "So what am I doing for WrestleMania? I ain't doing anything. I'm invested in the future." Probably to get the fans happy, just because the Fiend had just lost to a part-timer, 50-year-old Goldberg for the Universal Champion. So I think it was like, don't worry, the future, blah blah. So and then he's about to leave, but the lights go out, and then you see the Fiend appear when the lights go back on, and he's pointing at the WrestleMania sign. And then John Cena tips his hat to the Fiend, and it does his little "you can't see me." But so then for like weeks and weeks and weeks, there's just a bunch of random stuff. John Cena's saying like, oh, I'm invested in the future. That future's not Bray Wyatt. So pretty heelish stuff from John Cena of all people. But yeah, and then there's like an episode of the Firefly Funhouse, which is like the show within the show. I'm almost where yeah, Bray Wyatt he challenges John Cena to a Firefly Funhouse match. And then this last Friday, there's a pretty creepy segment. I want to say, pretty interesting segment. You'll just have to watch that for yourself. But then, boom, we have our match. And this didn't take place in the ring. For a second, I thought it was, to be honest, because John Cena's entrance music hit, and then he entered ringside, but then like some weird stuff happened to the screen and stuff. And look, unlike Undertaker and AJ Styles, I really wouldn't call this match at all, or a fight scene. This match wasn't any of that. Um, it was, I don't know, man. Like I can't. If I'm gonna describe this match, it's like I don't know. They showed like a clip of Kurt Angle saying like, "Who's got the guts to face Kurt Angle right now?" And then John Cena comes out in his old attire because that was John Cena's debut. And then, but instead of Kurt Angle, it's Bray Wyatt issuing the open challenge. So that happens, and then they go back to like Saturday night main event, which was something back in like I don't know the 80s, 90s, fucking. And then they go to WCW Nitro. A bunch of weird stuff happens. This is my brain hurts trying to explain it, but in the end, I guess the Fiend won. Um, like I guess I don't really. I don't know. Like I guess the Fiend was the right guy to win, but I don't. Did he win? Like, well, the match ended with the Fiend doing like a Sister Abigail to John Cena. And by the way, the Fiend and Bray Wyatt are the same person. If you don't watch wrestling and you're listening to this and you don't know, so he does like a Sister Abigail to John Cena, and John Cena disappears, and then the Fiend just starts laughing, and then it fucking ends. So I don't know what to think of this. Maybe I'll have to see what other people say online and see if I agree with them or not. So yeah, that was that. Um, Last but not least, uh, I'd say the main event here. Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre. What happened here is Brock Lesnar enters the Royal Rumble first as the WWE Champion. This is for the WWE Champion, by the way. He enters the Royal Rumble first as WWE Champion, and then he just dominates up to like a good number of people. Like he eliminated 13 people, and then Drew McIntyre comes, in which he eliminates Brock. So that is interesting there. And then what happens next is um, Drew gets ambushed by Brock the next night on Raw. A few weeks later, uh, Drew claymores, which is basically just a running kick to the face. Drew claymores Brock 3 times, and they're just a bunch of promos on Drew the next few weeks. That was basically the build, but that's the main event. Like the build isn't really the main event, but I want to see these two go at it. This like if this is one of those matches that's like the moment makes it the potential moment makes it the main event. But there's some worries that Drew wouldn't win because his win was built around you know winning the WWE champion in front of thousands of fans. That didn't happen though, but he did win the champion. So I'm happy he won the champion. It felt good that it was good to see him win. It really was. Especially since how he just jobbed out a lot, like, in the middle of his WWE career. So it was nice to see him get this win. I can probably tell you this entire match, though. Brock delivered, like, a few suplexes, then F5, and then Drew kicks out at 1, and then another F5, like, Drew kicks out at 2, another F5, and then, like, another F5. Oh, there's some suplexes thrown in there, too. Drew kicks out at 2, then, like, another or Brock attempts another suplex, then Drew counters into a Claymore, then to another Claymore, then to another Claymore. 1, 2, 3, Drew is your new champion. That was awesome. It probably would have been better with a crowd, but Drew's the champion, so and that's fucking awesome. So that was WrestleMania 36. One of the strangest WrestleManias. Should this event have been called WrestleMania? Probably not. Should this have moved forward? Probably not. But I heard like a former wrestler, I forgot who it was, but he said if Vince canceled WrestleMania 36, he's letting the virus win, and you know, Vince isn't the kind of guy who would let the virus win, and he didn't let the virus win this time. And it delivered some much needed entertainment at this time. So, yeah, this is definitely an interesting WrestleMania. Not quite the WrestleMania we were all expecting. Hopefully, SummerSlam is big too. And as for me, I plan on actually talking about WrestleManias each year on this podcast. I wanted to do that last year, but that was before I thought of the fact of doing this by myself, doing episodes by myself. That was before I thought I could do that. And I thought I needed a guest on here, in which I couldn't get one all the time. So, yeah. So this was an interesting WrestleMania. I'm not turning into a wrestling channel or anything. I just wanted to talk about WrestleMania. So that'll be it for this episode of the podcast. Be sure to like this video, subscribe for me on YouTube, like this sound recording, and follow me on SoundCloud as well. If you're on SoundCloud, go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to me. It's DPX Solo. If you're on YouTube, go to my SoundCloud and follow me. It's DPX Talks for about an hour. So yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.